Welcome to This Organized Life. If you're a mom, wife, or coffee lover seeking advice on how to reduce clutter and reclaim time, look no further than your host, Laurie Palau, founder of Simply Be Organized and author of Hot Mess, a practical guide to getting organized. For a lot of people, clutter is their dirty little secret, but it doesn't have to be. Each week, we will share practical tips, chat with experts, and provide strategies on how to keep you organized. I hope that by sharing our stories, you feel a little less alone and more empowered to tackle the areas that are holding you back. So let's get started!
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of This Organized Life podcast, and happy April. I am so excited that you are here. I am your host, Laurie Palau, and if this is your first time tuning into our show, welcome. We've got lots and lots of episodes in our library, from all kinds of how-to episodes to more big picture strategy of like, why do we want to get organized, and what are the different types of clutter, and what does our childhood say about how we live our lives now as adults? So anything and everything that you can imagine relating to living an organized life, you can find it here. So make sure that you click that subscribe button so you never miss an episode moving forward. And today we are doing one of our most popular episodes, which are our checklist episodes. And last time we did this, it was in the fall, and it was a solo episode. I liked, for people who have been around, you know that I actually enjoy having our guests on because I like to learn from them and have that conversation. But sometimes we like to just get down to the nuts and bolts of things and go through some checklists, some tactical things that need to get done, as opposed to kind of our big picture strategy. And so today is one of those episodes. So I'm coming to you solo, and we are going to be talking all about things that you can do in the spring to help make your life a little bit simpler along the way, a little bit more organized. Some of this is going to be geographically specific. I live in the Northeast, and so we have seasons where I live, and coming out of hibernation, although all things considered for my fellow Northeasterners, this was a fairly mild winter, as opposed to the past few winters that we've had, where we've gotten pummeled with snowstorm after snowstorm. But still, at the time of this recording, winter's still holding on. It's cold and rainy. Hopefully by the time this episode airs in early April, the sun will be shining and we'll be in like 70-degree weather. So that's all I can hope for here. But I made a checklist, which is a free download, and we're going to link to it in our show notes. It's also on our website on the resources page, so you can go there and print this out. And I broke it down into two different categories. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you see me looking down, it's because I legit have a copy of the checklist printed out in front of me. But it's something that you can go and print out if you want to look at like a punch list, if you will, of like, this is what we need to do. These are some of the things. And this isn't an exclusive list. You can obviously modify it to your lifestyle. Some of you are going to have more things. Some of these things aren't going to apply. Maybe if you're a renter, or you don't live in a house, you live in an apartment, but we try to cover a broad spectrum of topics and spaces for you to want to organize or prepare, so that when you're ready to either use this stuff or go somewhere, everything's like prepped and ready to go. So what I figured we would do is just take a quick rundown. We'll break it into two different sections. Top of the episode, we're going to cover outside, and then we'll break. And on second half, we will go indoors. So let's get to it. Alrighty. So in our outdoor category, the first thing I put on there is check your air in your bike tires. Now, again, if you live, like a lot of our partners live in sunny California or Florida, so you might have been using your outdoor activities like bikes and things all year round. Well, I'm not talking to you because you probably have this done, but for all of my fellow Northeasterners or Midwesterners, people who are maybe have had their bikes in the garage or a shed and haven't really taken them out, they're probably going to need air. So check your tires, because there's nothing worse than saying, okay, it's a beautiful sunny day. It's a Saturday. Let's get our bikes out and go for a bike ride. And they're dead. The tires are dead. So when you decide that you're going to maybe have a weekend and you're going to say, we're going to do some kind of household spring cleaning, putting air in your tires is what I have as top of the list. In the same token, also any balls that might need air, things deflate, especially in the cold weather. Your balls will deflate. And so volleyballs, basketballs, football, soccer balls, anything that requires air, pump those bad boys up. And you can also then, while you're going through any of your outdoor toys, if you have kids, go through the ones that they either have outgrown and you can donate them, have a yard sale, whatever. If they're broken, get rid of them, but hopefully, just pay it forward to somebody. And if they're gross, if they're things that maybe got, sometimes if things are left outside during the winter months, they kind of get rotted. And so just discard, go through that. A lot of times, especially when it comes to like outdoor toys and sports equipment, they're in bins or baskets and leaves get in there and it, spider webs and, I've known to come across a critter or two or droppings from critters. It happens, people. I mean, things from like to burrow inside. And so when we are going through that kind of spring organization, if you're going through a shed or a toy bin or stuff in your garage, you're going to want to, really go through it thoroughly. So in terms of supplies, and I don't have this necessarily on the checklist, but, you're going to want to have, a bucket of warm water or a hose. You're going to want to have some cleaning products, whether you're talking about, antiseptic wipes or spray that you can spray stuff down, and, paper towels. And it wouldn't hurt to have some gardening, or outdoor work gloves, because again, who knows what you're going to be touching. And a lot of times it's gross. So just really go through that, do a deep dive into what toys do we have? What have we outgrown? I know my girls were really big into sidewalk chalk, and I had like a bin of sidewalk chalk. Go through it, get rid of stuff. Not that I want you to have to go out and spend more money, but some of that stuff is really inexpensive. And if things got gross, if they were, again, left out, uncovered, sometimes they can just get really nasty. And instead of just holding on to it, sometimes it's better to just ditch it and start anew. So, just take inventory of all of that stuff. Another thing that, just looking at kind of the household stuff, in addition to kind of the toys and sports area, is outdoor lawn, like maintenance equipment. So a lawnmower, you want to make sure that you have gas for your lawnmower. In our fall organizing checklist, we talked about having gas for your snowblower, or making sure that you had stuff for your generator, all of those things. As you move into the colder months, we're going to want to also make sure that we have all of those supplies on hand for weed whackers, lawnmowers, leaf blowers, all the other things that we're going to be using for outdoor maintenance on our house. Which leads me to, if you do live in a home, depending on the type of home you have, you might want to power wash your house, whether you're doing that yourself. You either own a power washer, or you're renting a power washer, borrowing it, or, hiring a company to power wash your house. I think there's some good outdoor maintenance that should be done during the spring months. Washing windows, power washing your house, cleaning your gutters. Those are the top three. Because again, you want to get all of a lot of times, if you notice, now I have a house that has siding on it versus like a brick or stone house, but you'll notice that you get like a lot of like kind of green, like mossy stuff that comes on the side of your house. And you don't want all of that, in addition to kind of like bugs and cobwebs and all of that other stuff. So having your house power washed is a great way to just really spruce up, get rid of all of the yuck, so to speak. Cleaning your gutters is obviously for safety. You don't want this to run into having problems down the road with your gutters being clogged with old leaves that have fallen during the winter months. And especially if you are in an area where you're going to have a rainy season, you want to make sure that those gutters are working properly. So whether you're doing that on your own or you're hiring somebody to get up and do it, it should not be, hopefully, not a huge expense, but something that you don't want to wait until there's a problem to get it taken care of. And same with washing your windows. Washing your windows and like looking at your screens. Sometimes people take their screens out, then add them in. Or if they winterize their windows and they want to kind of take off that weather stripping, depending if you have an old house or not, a lot of times it's drafty. So kind of getting your windows prepped. And, again, you could clean windows yourself if that's what you want to do. I will tell you right now, it is not how I enjoy spending my time. And so one of the things that we budget for in the spring is getting our windows cleaned. So doing all of that household maintenance, we kind of budget for that. Like we're going to do a spring cleanup with the lawn and have our landscaping company come in and make sure all of our shrubs and everything is pruned, cleaning out, again, all of the old leaves that have fallen, any debris that kind of just drifted onto our lawn, so that it's prepped so I can plant and do the part that I enjoy, and let somebody else take care of the other stuff we'll call it like the heavy lifting of things, that is important to kind of get our foundation set up. So I think that's really important. And then that leaves for some of what I think is fun, which is what we think about when we think about spring. We think about plants, we think about flowers, we think about shrubs. And so if you are going to be outside and you are going to be, whether you're doing window boxes, whether you live in an apartment or a small house and you just want to do potted plants, or you have a full-fledged garden, a vegetable garden, a flower garden, whatever. This is a great time early spring to start to prep that, getting your mulch, getting your potting soil, getting those flowers planted. I don't have a huge green thumb, guys. I keep it very, very minimal. I know where my strengths are, and definitely I've gotten better as I've gotten older, but I don't have the greatest green thumb. So I keep it really, really simple. And as I've gotten older, I do a lot with potted flowers, like flower baskets, and I'll use really kind of cool, unique buckets and things like that to decorate, as opposed to having a huge flower garden in my yard, because it gets weedy and then I have to weed it, and that's a pain in the neck. So depending on what your bandwidth is, if you're going to keep up with it, if you're going to outsource it, delegate it, whatever you're going to do. But I think there's so many different ways that you can do things nowadays. I was actually just reading an article about different types of gardens, and how a lot of times in retirement homes now they're building out these individual garden boxes, and they can be raised so people who may have some health issues and can't get down on the ground and really like dig in the soil. But they enjoy gardening, they can still take advantage of it. So we have like kind of these raised flower beds where people can plant vegetables, fruits, flowers, whatever it is, and really still enjoy that without having the physical burden of getting down and, on all fours and digging through, soil and rocks and all that other stuff. So, but planning, if you do have a big space and you need to get mulch delivered, you want to set that up and get that done, or rock delivered, anything that's going to require you to do any delivery. And then also, if you're doing any improvements, you're going to want to look at getting on schedule with that. If it's any type of a hardscaping, so you're going to update a patio or a walkway or any other type of, rock garden of some sort, you want to look and make sure that all of that gets planned out, because you don't really want to be doing that stuff in the dead of summer. So spring is a really good time to do a lot of these projects. Kind of April, May is usually the sweet spot of when I like to do that, so that when we're in the height of the summer, all that stuff is done. And then it's really just maintenance of watering and pruning and all that stuff. And then the other thing that I like to do is, if you do have outdoor furniture, a lot of times your furniture has either been brought inside or brought into a shed, or maybe you have coverings over it, but you want to bring it out. If the base has been outside all season, you want to hose it down depending on the material. If you have cushions that need to be either aired out or hosed down, washed, whatever the material is, you want to make sure that you kind of prep that, because again, now we're hopefully getting into a season where we're going to be spending more time outside. We want to get outside. And so if that's the case, you want to make sure that your space is invited enough. So, for us, we have like a covered porch. And so I will be outside kind of wiping down all of our little like side tables that kind of just got dusty and a little icky from the winter. And, we have like a little outdoor rug that I want to be cleaning. So all of those little nuts and bolts, we want to treat our outside space equal to our inside space. A lot of times we've talked about, your garage kind of being the stepchild of the home, and we don't want that. We want it to be an inclusive part of your space. And so if you think of your outside not as an afterthought, but we want to think of your outdoor space as another extension of your home. And so whether that is a tiny little balcony or a tiny little postage stamp footprint backyard, or you've got acres upon acres, spending time, for anybody that has like a swing set. I don't have one anymore, but you want to make sure, this was a big one actually when my kids were small. We used to have a swing set in the backyard, and you want to make sure that all of the bolts and screws are in tightly. You want to make sure that there haven't been any like hornets nests, bees nests, wasps, anything like that that's burrowed in the winter, that's going to come out. So again, just kind of doing a walk around and saying, what are the things, how do we want to be living in this space in a month from now? How do we want, we want to be able to just come in and have a glass of lemonade or something else and just sit down and relax. So how can we prep now so that we can enjoy the space when we have it? Also, a lot of times just getting stuff for your cars. If you're going to start washing your cars, making sure that you've got, getting rid of old supplies, bringing in new supplies, stuff to wash your car, anything like that. You want to have it accessible, and just, corral that by zone in your space, whatever that looks like. So have your gardening area, have your home and auto area, whatever your different kind of zones are for what, if you have tools, make sure that you have all of that, and that it is, not, you've cycled out a lot of the winter stuff that you will hopefully not be needing anymore. So that's it for our outdoor section. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to move indoors and talk about some spring checklist organizing stuff for the inside of the house. So sit tight. All right, so we talk about spring cleaning, spring organizing, and there's actually two other areas that I forgot to mention, and I just want to kind of put them out there. Two other areas is, a lot of times people will look to get their driveways resealed. That's something that you might want to do in the springtime from an outdoor perspective. You don't want to do that in the blazing heat because you want that asphalt to dry. So depending on where you live, that's something, if you need, they usually recommend, I think, every other year to get that checked if you're starting to see cracks or whatnot. So your driveway, and also your mailbox, check that. Maybe your mailbox post needs to be painted, or, your mailbox needs to be replaced a lot. It's all, excuse me, it's out in the elements, it's taking a beating. So those are just two other areas that I forgot to mention. So we have that there. All right, now let's go to inside. So I try to tell people, let's do the inside as early as we can, because once it gets nice out, we don't want to be inside. Nobody wants to be inside when it's a nice spring day, especially, again, if you're like me and you've been forced to be in hibernation for the majority of the winter. As soon as the sun comes out and the weather gets a little bit warmer, I want to be soaking in as much vitamin D as I can. So let's just go through this punch list of indoor spring to-dos and get them done. All right, so here we go. First one is go through your medicine cabinet and remove that's anything that is expired. This is something that I do. I try to do this somewhat routinely. Occasionally it falls through the cracks. As my kids have gotten older, it's definitely fallen through the cracks because I'm not in their bathroom as readily as when they were younger. So when they were little, I was constantly in there and I would be cycling out, nasal spray and, Tylenol and all that other stuff, cough medicine. But they have a whole medicine cabinet and in their linen closet, first aid and all the different areas of, bathroom stuff in there. And so I'm not always checking it. So if you have a bathroom that kind of, gets neglected a little bit in terms of the day-to-day usage, go through it and see what's expired. Again, if something's expired in terms of medicine and it just happened, it's still probably good for another 6 months. Some people will even say a year, but you can decide based on what it is. You're probably not going to get sick from it, but it's going to lose its potency. So you want to make sure, especially with allergies. If anybody can hear this, my allergies have already started kicking in. So you want to make sure if that's something that you guys suffer from, you want to make sure that you've got your allergy medicine on hand or nasal spray or whatever it is. So if there's stuff that you need to get refilled or purchase, great. If there's stuff that is expired or nearing the end, just get rid of that as well. And then moving over into the kitchen, I would say, talking about expired, you want to move in and look at expired foods. So we oftentimes in the winter, I don't know about you guys, so we have an extra pantry that's in our basement that when I do some bulk shopping, I will store, non-perishables down there. And sometimes we stock up on things that have an expiration date and for whatever reason we didn't use them. For me, it could be like, chicken stock or vegetable stock. It could be a canned good, occasionally, like a pasta or something. Maybe you went and you bought it at a big bulk store and you didn't go through it and it's expired. Also same with snacks. A lot of times, I opened up, I'm not ashamed to admit it. I opened up a thing of pretzels a couple weeks ago. I just wanted like a little snack and I'm not a huge snacker like that, but I was like, oh, I think I'll have some pretzels. And I opened them up and I was like, ew, these are stale. And they came in a variety pack and they had long since expired. I was like, ew, gross. And I threw them right in the trash. So, check all the things for expiration dates. Another area that often gets neglected in terms of expiration dates are spices. So spices, except for your regular go-tos, spices will oftentimes expire before you get done them. And so really go through, look at all the ones. A lot of times you'll buy a spice for a particular recipe and you haven't used it since, or maybe use it once or twice. And lo and behold, it's not no bueno anymore. That happened to me the other day. I went in and what I noticed was an indication that something is expired is it kind of clumps. Like I turned it over to sprinkle some, I forget what it was, maybe onion powder. I don't remember, that I hadn't used, and it didn't come out. I was like, why is it all stuck together? And I looked and it had expired. So I was like, well, guess I need to buy some new onion powder. So sometimes if things don't seem to have the right consistency anymore, that might give you an indication that it's time for it to go. Another thing, since we're in the kitchen, is it's a great time to do a deep clean of your fridge and freezer. So I shouldn't say most people, but I'm going to say most people, you're going through your fridge. If something spills, you wipe it down. Like, most people's fridges aren't gross on the inside, but at the end of the day, you've got stuff that you take on the counters, you put back, milk, creamer, your spices, or not spices, your sauces, dressings. And sometimes, it gets a little like icky on the bottom, and that gets inside the door or whatever. So what I do is, at least, again, one on my like spring organizing cleaning Saturday that I'm going to decide, I will take everything out of the refrigerator, as opposed to just wiping down the one little drawer or shelf. Take it all out, go through all of the expiration dates first, get rid of everything that, again, oh, we haven't used this dressing, expired, gone. And I always like to just make a list of, is it something that we want to replace or not? Because some things you bought and you're like, oh, I don't even need to replace this. We're not using it, or nobody really cared for it, so you don't need to replace it. But other times it might be like, oh yeah. So you want to have a list handy. So whether you're putting that directly into your phone, if you use an app or a a digital shopping list, or you just want to have pen and paper, just write it down. These are the things that we want to replace, because again, you don't want to then go to look for it when you're making a recipe and then you don't have it on hand. So make sure you have that nearby. Once everything's out, then you can wipe it down. And I just like to use a warm, I just have a little bowl, a basin of warm soapy water. And I just take a rag and I just wipe it all down. I wipe down the walls of the refrigerator, each of the shelves, the doors, the whole 9 yards. And then the vegetable and fruit crispers, which most people know get kind of gross, take them out, clean them, rinse them in the sink, dry them, and then put them back. People ask me, do you unplug your refrigerator and freezer? I don't. I don't know if that's a bad thing or not, but for me, it doesn't take me that long. So I just empty it, I close it up, go through all the expirations, then zone it, right? Make sure that I have everything like, oh, let's put all the dressings together, all the beverages together. This is the different areas. And then I go inside and I quickly clean it. And for the most part, because I've been doing maintenance ongoing, there shouldn't be that many areas that are like super gross. So it doesn't take a lot of time. And then once that's done, then I can put everything back. And if you are somebody that wants to have, a beautiful fridge and have like a lazy Susan or a turntable inside, or you like to have fridge organization bins to like store that's fine too. But whether you are just putting stuff directly on the shelf or back in your zone bins, that's how you do it. And then immediately it will like breathe a new life into your refrigerator. And then I repeat the process with my freezer. And for us, we don't keep a ton of stuff in our regular freezer. I keep all of our, extra chicken or meats or whatnot out in our spare room freezer, or our one in the garage. So our freezer here has mostly like ice cream and maybe some like frozen waffles and things like that. But whatever it is that you're keeping in your freezer, whether it's fully stocked or you just have a few odds and ends, you want to just be cleaning it out. Make sure that you cycle out your ice tray, because sometimes that can get nasty. And it's just, again, a simpler process, although I'm not necessarily, wiping everything down with the warm water because it's going to freeze, or, I'll wipe it down quicker. So that's my deep clean of my fridge and my freezer. All righty. So while we are in the kitchen, I'm just looking at my list. You can go through your kitchen cabinets and specifically your gadget drawer. A lot of times we accumulate gadgets throughout the year, whether you went to a party and you bought a gadget, or I don't know, the local pizza place gave you an extra pizza cutter, whatever it is. So I go through, I like to kind of just do a bird's eye view of dishes, cups, mugs, like tumblers, if you throughout the year, you get new drink cups, whether that's, like a Yeti, a Hydro Flask, Swell, whatever it is, all the different, reusable things, and go through them. If you have littles at home, Sippy Cups, big one. Go through those Sippy Cups, because I don't know about your kids, but my kids used to chew on them. And so that sometimes the tops get gross. So really cycle out, or the little stoppers get nasty. So go through all of that. And again, make a list if there's anything you need to replace, but hopefully those things you're going to be thinning out and not necessarily replacing. So you just want to be mindful of all of that stuff. And then specifically when it comes to gadgets, tools, cooking instruments, baking stuff, all of that, you want to go through all those things, get rid of the things you're not using. Platters is another one. If maybe plan a donation of, we're not going to be using this. I haven't used this since whenever. Somebody gave this to me. I don't want this. And a lot of times people will find when they're going through their stuff in the spring, they'll be like, oh, someone lent me that tray for Christmas and you never gave it back. So oftentimes having a return pile, like return to a friend, a sibling, a parent, or whatever, neighbor. So you want to have that. And then don't let it sit for too long. Call, text that person, or if it's someone local, like, oh, my next door neighbor, my neighbor down the street, just walk it over, have your kid walk it over, say, here, I found this, platter, Tupperware, fill in the blank, that I borrowed from you. And here you go. Because there's always stuff that just kind of, oh, where'd that come from? So I think that's something, again, and you can, if you really want to get micro, you can, clean out all your kitchen drawers and shelves. That does take a lot of time. So you might want to break that down into, maybe a different day project, but it is something that if you want to do, it would just, add another level of like zhuzh to your spring organization. And then, from a household stuff, you want to, if you have central air conditioning, you want to make sure that your air conditioning is working well. If you want to check your air filters, make sure that you're cycling that out. If you have to call for service, get that done. If you are somebody that has to have, window box air conditioners put in, maybe you want to have those installed. So again, by the time that the temperature gets high that you're going to use them, they're already prepped and ready to go. So that's another thing. So again, just thinking down the road, you want to be proactive rather than reactive. And then when it comes to, you want to look at clothes, I think. Oh, wait, before we get into clothes, I want to do one other thing. So I want to talk about home decor and accessories. So kind of while we're in the household stuff, I don't know about you, but I like to like flip things out to just add a new element. So sometimes I will bring in, whether it's new picture frames or new little like tchotchke. I'm not a big tchotchke person, but I have a little tray and I have like springtime birds and a more summery type things that are out versus in the winter when I have things that are more like heavier colors and more like Christmassy type things. Same with candles. Even if you have like candlesticks, you want to update them to like a lighter spring color versus, a wintry color, things of that nature. Throw pillows. Throw pillows are a great way for you to, have your room reflect kind of the seasons. And so I'll bring in brighter colored throw pillows in the spring, and I will move my kind of winter ones downstairs, or throw them in a bin, or whatever it is that you want to do. So think about all of the little touches, the little home decor accessories that maybe it's, you have some throw blankets and you have one that's, a more heavy winter one. And then you have some lighter spring ones, whether it's lighter in colors or just lighter in materials, things that you can just cycle out to just make it feel like there's something new because we're in a new season. And those little touches really kind of make you want to enjoy your house. So those are kind of some other things that I like to do on my spring organizing days. So moving into clothes. So clothes, If you have kids, this is obviously a big one because kids grow like weeds, and there's going to be stuff that is in their closets that no longer fit them, that they no longer like. Oh, I'm not into that anymore. The styles have changed. And so for children, a lot of times when you bring out their summer bins or spring bins, whatever it is, or seasonal bins, there's going to be stuff that not only doesn't fit them, but they don't like and they won't wear. So I think it's really important to have them go try it on. I encourage parents to be involved in this process. Your kids can and should be part of it, but you want to be moving the train along. Otherwise, it can become very overwhelming. I use my 4-pile method, which if you've been around for a while, is the keep pile, which is the stuff that we're going to keep because we're going to use it. We're going to wear it. We're going to, we love it. We wear it. We use it. Then we have the relocate pile again, this is seasonal, or this is a memory. So we're keeping it, but we're not keeping it in this designated space. We have our recycle pile, which is anything that we are going to donate. It's in good shape, but it's no longer serving us. We're not using it, wearing it, loving it. So we're going to donate it. And then you have your, let's try this again. You got your keep pile, which is the stuff that you're going to keep, wear, love, use. Then you've got your donate pile, which is the stuff that you are no longer going to be wearing, using. You've either outgrown it, you don't like it, it's gone, so we're going to donate it. Then you've got your recycle pile, which is anything that is broken, stained, not working. We're going to just ditch it. And then you have your relocate pile. And your relocate pile means we love it, we want to keep it, it doesn't belong here. It's either going to get put away for next season. It is going to be put away for a future sibling. It is going to be put into memorabilia because this is a keepsake, but we don't need it out because we're not going to be, it's not necessarily something that we need to have at our fingertips. So those are your 4 piles. And again, you're going to use that for most of the places, but specifically when it comes to the seasonal clothes, that's a really big one that you want to make sure that you are navigating that through. And so do that for yourself, do that for your kids. And again, even if you have a big closet, I personally still like to swap out my seasonal clothes. There are some stuff that are kind of utilitarian that will cross over and be universal. Workout clothes, a lot of times like a lot of layering, tank tops, things of that nature. But there are distinct items that are like heavy winter gear or really big summer gear that are the extremes. And so especially if you live in season changing climates, you're probably not going to be accessing those for several months. So I just like to get them out of sight. I just don't even want to see them in rotation as just clutter. So I'll remove them, and I just like to be able to shop my closet or shop my drawers with the stuff that I know everything that's in here is stuff that I'm going to access, use, and wear at any point in the next couple months. You might want to do a cycle out. Some people like to cycle out their bed linens. Some people, whether it's changing out your comforter to more of a spring comforter, or you had flannel sheets and now you want to have lighter cotton sheets. So again, you want to maybe do your bedding. And that's also a great time to kind of go through the linen closet and say, you know what? These towels have seen better days. I'm going to donate them to the SPCA because they're always looking for towels. I'm going to buy some new ones. You don't need to have a ton of stuff. Again, I always say for your sheets, you want to have an extra set. And then if you are somewhere where you like to have like a flannel set because it's cold. So I would have an extra regular set and then maybe a flannel set, but you don't need more than that. What else? I'm looking at my list. The kids also, since we were talking about kids, they can do the same thing with their toys. We have them go through their clothes. We talked about the outdoor toys, but also indoor toys. If there's stuff that they are going through and they're like, hey, we're in our playroom and we no longer play with this category of things, that's a great time to do it. And a lot of people are going to be planning for yard sales. So again, if you want to have that, some neighborhoods have yard sales. Just gather all your stuff, have a staging area for anything that you are going to either be donating or selling, so that you know where it lives and it's not just taking up clutter in the middle of your room. So have that designated staging area. That is really important, because that way you know where the stuff that you're not keeping is going to go. And then the last area that I talked about, or that's on this list, is about editing your bookshelf. And so, we accumulate, if you're a reader, a lot, especially in the winter, we get a lot of books, we're inside, we're reading. Go through it. And are there things that we want to donate to a library, donate to a school? Our kids have outgrown certain books. They've moved on to chapter books, so they're not reading picture books. Do we have somewhere that we can donate them to? A local synagogue, church, shelter, whatever it is. And again, adult stuff as well. If you're, if you like an actual physical book, which I do, do you want to have a book sale? Again, if we're having a yard sale and we're putting stuff out there, just put like a $1 book table, or just do a book library and say free, just to get it out of there. If there's stuff that you're probably not going to come back to, just put it out there. Just donate it. People like books. There's a lot of places for books. So make room for new ones to come in. And if there are some special ones that are keepsakes, keep them for, of course you can, but we accumulate a lot of stuff, and sometimes we just kind of hold on to it because we don't know what else to do with it. And so I think books are an area that often get overlooked. So I just want to have you guys spend some time just going through that. I think, as I'm looking through my list, I think that is the bulk of what I have covered, or actually I know it is on this list. So I know I talked quickly. I covered a lot of bases, but what I want you to do is go through, or go to my website, or go into the show notes, download this free checklist, and you can even download a couple copies if you want, or just have it on your phone if you don't want to print it out, whatever, and assign it to people in your family of like, this is what we're going to do, or this is what we're going to do today. You don't have to do all of it in one day. You could space it out, or you could dedicate a full day, however you want to do it. But I think the key is you want to go through systematically all these different areas that apply to you and check them off, because that way you'll always be one step ahead of the game, as opposed to, again, letting something fall through the cracks, and then there's a problem, and you're rushing to scramble to fix it, find it, replace it, what have you. So that's it, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. I am so excited for spring. I would love to see your progress, so make sure that you post your pictures on social media. You could tag us at Simply Be Organized. Post it in our Facebook group, This Organized Life Podcast. We definitely want to cheer you on. And again, if there is a question, a topic that you want us to talk about, shoot us a note, shoot us a DM, email us, info@simply_organized.com, because we want to hear from you. So until next week, I am Laurie Palau. Peace out. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please spread the love by sharing it with your friends. And if this is your first time tuning in, make sure to click the subscribe button wherever you are listening, so that you never miss an episode. And while you're there, please leave us a review so other people know that our show is worth a listen. Head on over to YouTube and make sure that you follow us there as well. We record interviews, videos, and conversations with all of our guests. And again, if you want to learn more about our product offerings, feel free to visit us at simplybeorganized.com, where you can connect